Scorpio rising. This is your 2023 Scorpio rising astrological forecast. And yes, what a wonderful, amazing year you have in store. So, to start off, we've got Mercury, the communication planet, retrograde until January 18th in the sign of Capricorn. And then it goes direct in Capricorn until it enters the sign of Aquarius on February the 18th. So, Mercury in Capricorn in your third house, Scorpio. Well, that's all about communications. It's all about what you say, what you do, and with the retrograde phase, Scorpio rising there now, you will have to be very clear and concise with all your communications, especially Scorpio rising, since you have the power planet there, Pluto. So that can really get intense with your communications. You do not want to get into any discord or conflicts, tension of any kind. And certainly, if there is any stress and tension now with regards to your communication, you want to just kind of pull back a little bit, Scorpio rising, not to get into any arguments or disagreements now. Also, the third house is connected with travel, so zip up your travel plans, Scorpio rising now indeed, because you don't want to get into any snafus or mix-ups there. Also, the third house is connected with your automobile. So if you are traveling now, yes, you want to look into all kinds of repairs or anything to do with your car that might be very good to look into as far as keeping you safe. You don't want to have any breakdowns and so on and so forth. And also do be careful of communications within your vicinity. But if you do, watch out for all these communications, and yes, that does include social media and so on, then, well, yes, Scorpio rising, you will be just fine. Then we've got the next important placement for you, Scorpio rising, is with Mercury, the communicator at the top of your chart, and it will especially be important if you have Cancer on your midheaven, Scorpio rising. So Mercury will be in Cancer, and that will be on June 26th, and that will stay there until July 11th, and then it will go into Leo until July the 28th. So, yes, with Mercury in Cancer, well, Mercury is about communications, but Cancer is all about that sense of protection, security, and with your ninth house, you want to feel very well secure and very confident, Scorpio rising, about what you say. Now, Mercury in Cancer also goes very well with your Scorpio rising sign. So right now, what you say will have a greater effect. And with Mercury in your ninth house, not only is it about kind of like the third house, it's all about communications, but with ninth house, it's projecting your belief systems. And right now, you will be doing a lot of communication based on what? Maybe your research of what you hold very dear with a particular project, or maybe spiritual issues will move you right now. But also, it's a great time for research, education. Maybe you're thinking about going back to school, and also it's about long distance travel. So yes, if you are here too looking into travel, it's a good time to really be very security minded because, again, this is Cancer. So you don't want to just go on a trip right now. You want to go on a trip that is the trip of a lifetime, something that makes you feel rather secure. And with Cancer Mercury there, maybe right now, Scorpio, you are planning for a rainy day. And right now, maybe you're doing some of that background research so that you can really feel protected in the future about your career aims and goals. Why? Because Mercury may very well be in your personal birth chart at the top of your chart. But guess what else? Mercury in the ninth house is about the contract. So right now you might be, especially with Cancer there, signing some very important contracts that deal with the security of your future. And you may be very busy communicating with all kinds of new faces and new places. And hey, Scorpio rising, you might be doing that in many different languages with Mercury in the ninth house. Then we've got Mercury going into the very confident and very proud sign of Leo. And that will go into Leo on July 11th until July the 28th. Yes, indeed. So over the summer with Mercury warming up in the very communicative sign, drama-oriented sign of Leo. Well, now Scorpio rising, you are extremely ambitious. Yes, you are, especially since the two of you are fixed sign. You are very focused on your career goals and aims right now. And with Leo, you are doing it in such style. You may be getting along well with the boss or communicating much with management or the boss, or you want to be the boss, Scorpio rising. But with Leo there and squaring off with your Scorpio ascendant and with Uranus in Taurus now, also with your seventh house, you will have to be very careful that you do not overstep your bounds now, Scorpio rising. And just take a light touch on that sense of authority, because by all intent and purposes, Scorpio rising, you have a lot of very powerful energy, so you don't want to offend the boss or anyone that you're doing business with Scorpio rising, but you have such good intentions to help other people. You are a natural healer. So many people, additionally, Scorpio with Mercury there, may bring communications from you to very important people or to you that look to you, Scorpio rising, with authority now. But who knows? Maybe you're going to think of a career connected with entertainment, or take that hobby of yours and make a very good, sound career out of it, because you may want to be on stage now and broadcast some of those very fascinating, passionate, and intense communications. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising. Then moving along, we're going to look to the planet of love, Venus. Yes, indeed. And Venus for you, where it has some of the most importance this year, will be in your seventh house of partnerships. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising. And then it will go into the sign of Taurus on March the 16th until April the 11th. And why is it so important now, Scorpio? Because it is in your seventh and first house axis, or connected with your seventh and your first house axis. And not only that, Venus will be meeting up this year, Scorpio rising, with Uranus. And you know what that's about because you've had Uranus in that seventh house of partnerships, relationships for quite some time. But with Venus there, well, it's kind of interesting, or it could go either way because Venus with Uranus is about bringing some very unusual people into your life. Maybe some people that are a little bit too outspoken or just a little bit too strange or unpredictable. Or with Uranus there, it's all about adding new air to all your partnerships and relationships. You will increase that sense of zest, enthusiasm, and fun, and maybe that unpredictable nature of Uranus with Venus will be rather creative and good for you because it kind of mixes it up a little bit with all your partnerships and relationships. Or, on the other hand, you may have found out, and especially during this time, Scorpio rising, that Venus is in your seventh house, you may have found that, yes, you've probably possibly have had to walk away from relationships that have been way too erratic. But with Venus there, that sweetens the pot for you a bit, Scorpio rising, because equally you may meet some very, well, rather odd individuals, but at least they have a very kind-hearted side to them. And right now, also, it's a good time for legal affairs. If you've tried to begin or zip up some legal affairs, very fine time for that. And it could be quite profitable, especially with Venus in Taurus. Then we also have that connection with the public. So all communications with the public could be a little bit unusual now, but equally very sweet. So yes, another important placement for you, Scorpio rising. Then, oh my goodness, we've got Venus actually right now on your first house of your appearance, your first handshake, and, well, what you really hold near and dear, which is you, Scorpio rising. And that will be in Scorpio and it goes into Scorpio December 4th until December 29th. So, at the close of the year, Venus will be over your first sign and your first house. So you will be exceptionally attractive and appealing now. And oh my goodness, Scorpio rising, with all your intensity and sense of passion. Wow, you're going to be the real energizer right now, especially with Venus, the real love planet over your first house. People will be just magnetized by you because Scorpio is a very magnetic and charismatic sign. So you're going to have an abundance of energy, and who knows, for you unavailable or even available Scorpio rising right now, because you are so charismatic and full of charisma, magnetic, you may have lots of suitors now that will be very attracted to you, and your sense of power. Wow, what a very interesting and powerful time for you, Scorpio rising, with passionate Venus in Scorpio over your first house. And who knows, with Venus there, Scorpio, you might change it up a little bit, really express your personal stamp of style, or get that haircut that you've always wanted, but you want to change it up a little and beautify everything, including you, Scorpio rising. Now, we're going to look ahead to Mars, the planet of action. And Mars, for the later part, Scorpio rising of 2022, was in Gemini for, well, the long haul. It was going forward, it was going retrograde. But now Gemini Mars coming into 2023 will still remain in the sign of January, in the sign of Gemini. And that will be Mars going direct finally on January the 12th. It will be in Gemini and it will remain there until March the 25th. So Mars will kind of finish up in the sign of Gemini, Scorpio rising. But that's all too good for you. But guess what? Since Mars has been in your natal eighth house, you've had an abundance of energy. Why? Because your ruler is both Pluto and Mars. And with your ruler Mars in the eighth house, that's a very deep placement for you, Scorpio rising. You've really been doing some serious soul searching, going within. And yes, perhaps Scorpio rising with Mars there, you've seen a lot of beginnings and endings. Maybe you've had to close the book on that which has been very taxing or stressful for you. Maybe relationships or those that you've had to deal with on a day-to-day basis have been either full of conflict or you've experienced much in the way of tension with Mars, the action planet in your eighth house. But Mars is also good with dealing with trusts or estates, and maybe because of Mars there, this is something that you've been very busy acting upon right now, Scorpio rising. And hey, it's also a good time for intimacy. But as aforementioned, it can also be a time of conflict within certain connections because they may have emotionally taxed you. But somehow you may feel a little bit confused there about what you really believe in, especially since Mars has been squaring off with that nebulous Neptune. So yes, you're going within, but in the meantime, you've been a little bit uncertain about what you really want from life. But it's all good because Mars is about action. So you will get to the bottom of things, whether it be your soul searching, whether it be closing the door on uncertain or discord relationships, you name it. But Mars is very good for taking action, especially closing the door, Scorpio, on what is no longer needed. Then we've got Mars in Scorpio. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising up, and it is back into your first house. Yes, indeed. And it will be in Scorpio on October 12th until November 24th. So you are just the energizer battery now, Scorpio rising with Mars, your ruling planet, over your rising sign. But you will have to be careful in your energy right now and all your intensity and passion, Scorpio rising. You don't want to be overbearing or create conflict because we still have early on, we've got Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in your seventh house of, in fact, relationships in Taurus. So right now is a good time, Scorpio rising, to express your best energy. Yes, really turn up that volume to impress those around you with your brilliant ideas, your intensity and fixity of purpose. But you don't want to become too fixed and too intense that, yes, as aforementioned, that could create discord and conflict. But with Mars there, it is in its own sign of Scorpio, similar to Aries. So you will have all kinds of enthusiasm and zest to really get things done. And hey, it's all about transformation because Scorpio, you know all about transformation and change. So, right now, Scorpio, you're going to make things happen. You want some of those changes, you want that transformation. Yes, that's going to be key here. And hey, you're going to have lots of boisterous and an abundance of energy while doing it. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising. Then we're looking ahead to the generous planet of Jupiter in Aries. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising. And Aries, Jupiter is great because, like its fellows, sign of Sagittarius, of which Jupiter rules, Jupiter loves to be into the sign of Aries, and that's very lucky for you, especially this year, Scorpio. Why? Because it's in your sixth house of work. So, if you've wanted to change jobs or maybe try kind of change it up a little bit within your job, yes, generous Jupiter will allow you to do that this year. And Jupiter does everything in grand style. So why have one job, Scorpio, when you can have many jobs? Or right now, because generous Jupiter is in your sixth house, and that will be there with Aries from the beginning of the year until May the 16th. So, why have one job when you can have many? You can change it up with the job that you've got. And who knows, you might take that job or that hobby and make it your main focus this year. And well, with material and generous, prosperity oriented Jupiter and Aries, you may be able to make money with that particular hobby or talent of yours. But it is a wonderful time to switch jobs, think of a new career, and this will be in abundance. Also, you may see an uptick in your health. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising with generous, gregarious Jupiter in your sixth house. So, yes, if you've had some health issues as of late with generous Jupiter there, you may feel like, wow, you're starting to feel better. You are starting that health regime in grand style or exercise regime. You are going to feel abundant with energy right now. And who knows, maybe you'll get that wonderful and meaningful, loving pet. Yes, indeed. Scorpio rising. Then we've got the abundant planet Jupiter going into your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. And that will be from May 16th, it will go into Taurus. Then it will flip back retrograde on September 5th until December the 30th. 2023. So, what is this all about? Scorpio rising. Well, you had lots of abundance with your sixth house, with work, job, your health, but now at the seventh house, the abundance will come to you with partnerships. For you unattached Scorpio rising right now, you may have lots of very serious commitment oriented suitors coming into your life now, and that is going to be many. Also, it's a wonderful, joyous time to negotiate some of those very well abundant contracts that could be very profitable for you. Yes, indeed. And all your dealings with the public are rather, well, kind of energetic. You may feel like some of the people now that you meet are rather uplifting and positive. And who knows, Scorpio rising, maybe some of these new individuals that you meet with business or otherwise will be lifelong friends. And indeed, this year is going to be very helpful for you with, who because possibly you're thinking about taking on that long-term commitment this year. But whatever goes on with Jupiter in the very generous sign of Taurus will be certainly very rewarding for you with any and all partnerships and relationships. Then we've got Saturn, yes, the planet of restriction. And for the early part of 2023, Scorpio rising, Saturn will remain in the sign of Aquarius until March the 7th. Then it will go into Pisces. It will flip back a retrograde on June 17th until November 4th when Saturn goes direct. Okay, so for the past 2 to 2.5 years, you've had Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. And Saturn can be that of restriction, can try your patience. But remember, Saturn is the planet of karma. And here it will be in, yes, your family house. And yes, there may have been some issues with family or issues with family situations that you've been called upon, perhaps Scorpio rising, to be the peacemaker. Or, on the other hand, you have been lost in conflict, and it has been very trying for you, Scorpio rising. And especially since the depositor now of Saturn in Aquarius is Uranus in your seventh. So there has possibly been interference between relationships and family. So this has only added to your tension. But as mentioned, Saturn is the planet of karma. So yes, maybe there's been some family conflicts now, but guess what? Maybe that will only draw you closer to family in the future. Also, this is connected with your physical house or your living situation. So somehow your living situation or connections with your house, maybe repairs, renovations, have also been a little bit much lately. Perhaps you've had to move because of an uncertain connection with your house, or your living situation has been a little bit topsy-turvy. But there's always something to learn with Saturn in any house that it is transiting through. And the lesson here for you is that you have learned that you want more steadiness in life from your living situation. You may have learned, yes, are you better living alone or better living with other people? And who knows, maybe because Saturn is in Aquarius in your house of, well, real estate, houses, and so on, this may be something that you may look into as far as a career, but nonetheless, even connected with your physical abode, your living situation, and even family communications. Yes, there's ups and downs, but in the long run, Saturn will always reward you for your patience and your responsibility. Then we will have Saturn flipping into your fifth house of creativity, love, romance, children's interests, and so on. Even speculation. And that will go into Pisces again from March the 7th. And then it will go retrograde on June 17th and direct again on November 4th. So Saturn in the fifth house. Well, right now, it's kind of like a double-edged sword here too, especially Saturn is going to meet up with Neptune, not by aspect, but they will both this year in 2023 be in your fifth house together. So your fifth house is going to be a focus for you in 2023. Now with Saturn there, maybe you may find that love and romance is something that you, Scorpio rising, will take rather seriously now. Some very wonderful, loving, kind-hearted suitors will be entering your life for you unavailable Scorpio risings, or for you available Scorpio risings, I should say. Either way, available or unavailable Scorpio risings, it's going to be about love and romance that you take seriously. And or there won't be any time for romance because who knows, you may be working overtime at the office, Scorpio rising. And also, it's a double-edged sword here too. You want to take some time for downtime. You want to have fun. Or on the other hand, with Saturn there in your fifth house, you may feel, yes, as aforementioned, you are just working overtime and you will have to put fun and vacation on the back burner. But it's a great time to increase your family if you are looking to, and especially since you've got Neptune there, kind of with Saturn, a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's either about illusion with regards to love, romance, fun, or it's a time of high creativity. And with Saturn there, yes, you're going to be very serious about your talent. Maybe you're going to take your talent or your hobby to the next level. But with Saturn there, you're going to be learning and chipping away at that artistic talent that you have now. And who knows, once Saturn over the next 2 years leaves Pisces and then goes into the sign of Aries, you will find that you will be able to profit from that hobby indeed. Now, let's move along to the sign of, or the planet of Uranus. Yes, indeed. Back to the seventh house, Scorpio rising. And what is Uranus? Uranus is the planet of the unexpected. And that will go this year direct on January 22nd and then flip retrograde in August on the 28th for the remainder of the year. And with Uranus there, it's a little bit shocking. Some people have been coming in and out of your life that, well, some of them were a little bit unstable, maybe a little bit strange. And, well, yes, Scorpio rising, that may include 2023. You may meet some very, well, unusual individuals, but this can be good and it can be not so good because some of these individuals, although they're very unique and very different, they can be also somewhat disturbing for you, whether they are dealings with the public or you're dealing with regards to partnerships or relationships. That could really tax your nerves. Now, Scorpio, especially since Uranus is opposite of your rising sign. But nonetheless, somehow with that brilliant Scorpio intuition and insight, you will figure out a way of how to deal with these individuals. But also it's about relationships. Maybe some of your relationships now for you unavailable Scorpio risings have been kind of a lot about on again, off again, makeup, breakup, or maybe you've had some temporary relationships and maybe they were only meant to be there very briefly in your life. And so you may be finding a little bit of some broken relationships now, but this is all too good because although it's about the unexpected and it can shake you up a little bit in the seventh house, Scorpio rising, Uranus always is about new air, the fresh, the new, even with a little bit of the shocking and the unexpected, the unpredictable. It's good because it helps you to decide, bringing all new faces and places into your life. It helps you to decide what you want and what you don't want. And the trick here is, especially with the fixed sign Scorpio rising and the fixity of Uranus in stubborn Taurus, is to what, Scorpio? To go with the flow. So even if there's a lot of breaks with partnerships, relationships, a lot of strangeness going on now connected with individuals, you got to go with the flow. And if you can do that, well, then Scorpio, then you will be, well, what? Scorpio rising, transforming all partnerships. And that is also connected with legalities this year, there, or any dealings with the law, contracts, and so on. Yes, they may be a little bit unpredictable too. But here again, who knows? With Uranus there, maybe Scorpio rising, you will be able to win with some of those legal contracts. Yes, indeed. Just be aware to unexpect the unexpected, or expect the unexpected, that is. Then we've got Neptune, the deceiver, the confuser in your fifth house. Back to the fifth house again, Scorpio rising. So yes, you've been confused about love and romance there, but guess what? Neptune is most creative in its highest with Pisces. So right now, you've been really into that artistic or musical talent that you've had. Maybe you've wanted to take it to the next level, and your imagination is at its best with very compassionate, loving Neptune in your fifth house. And speaking of which, you've had some very kind-hearted, compassionate, loving individuals coming into your life that are looking to really have that special once in a lifetime romance with you. But yes, it is Neptune, so do be careful. Yes, indeed, Scorpio rising, of who is really above board with you and who is, well, a little bit deceptive, because Neptune can go both ways. It's either about very high creativity and love and sympathies, compassion, and so on, and creativity at its best, or it can be rather deceptive and confusing. And that may deal with, right now, dealing with children's issues. It might be dealing with increasing your family. But hey, as long as you're feeling very inspired, that Scorpio rising is what is important with Neptune in Pisces. Then we've got the power planet Pluto, yes indeed, in Capricorn, in your third house of communications until March the 23rd, and then May 1st it will flip back retrograde in Capricorn to June 11th until October 10th, and it will go direct once again into Capricorn. Phew, that is quite a trek into Capricorn. But right now, Scorpio rising, Pluto in Capricorn has to have a higher meeting, because it is going to zip into Aquarius early on in the year, even briefly. But even with the latter degrees of Capricorn, Pluto, it's all about our humanity. It's all about our friendliness and our friendship. So all of your communications now, even connected with family, third, fourth matters, will all be about your compassion and really dealing with people more on a higher level. It's got to have meaning, yes, purpose, about helping people. You want to make sure that you kind of take on this charitable point of view to those around you in all your communications. And who knows, maybe you and family will get together on some kind of a group connect, or some kind of a group project that will be very rewarding for you. Or maybe some of your friends and you will help to get together and get into a remodeling project. Who knows? Or your communications with family and those in your neighborhood will be ever so humane. And all kinds of groups you will flower in right now. It's a very good time for connecting with friends and any and all the public and group connections now, Scorpio rising. Then finally, we are going to look at the eclipses this year, which there are four. The first one is a lunar eclipse on May the 5th at 14 degrees Scorpio. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. The first one is going to be, well, we're going to get to that in a minute. The first one is going to be a solar eclipse on April 20th at 29 degrees Aries. We're going to get it right there, Scorpio rising. And that will shine a light on your sixth house. So that's a solar eclipse and new moon in Aries. And what is Aries in your sixth house? It's all about back to that work connection again. Scorpio rising, it will shine a light on your business connections and your health and wellness. So right now you might have some wonderful news connected with business, maybe a new job, starting a business, or maybe you will get that loan to begin that new venture. Right now you might even have great news connected with health and wellness. It's a good time for work and especially starting that new career. Now we've got the lunar eclipse, and that is on May 5th at 14 degrees Scorpio in your first house, Scorpio rising. But do beware, Scorpio rising. We are talking a lunar eclipse and a full moon over your first house, and that will square off with Uranus, the shocking planet in your seventh house. So partnerships could come to the forefront now, and especially do be careful, Scorpio rising, with that lunar eclipse full moon, because as aforementioned, similar to Mars, you don't want to get too power oriented, too passionate, and too intense now, because that could affect all forms of your communications and your relationships now. So just take a light touch, pull back a little bit, and just kind of go with the flow. Then we've got another solar eclipse on October 14th at 21 degrees Libra in your 12th house. And it is a solar eclipse new moon that shines a light on you. What really gives you peace of mind, Scorpio rising? It's a time of healing. Maybe you've been going through some ups and downs as of late. And with the solar eclipse in Libra, it's about really healing from within. And who knows, it's in the 12th house, so you may be reaching out to others for help, or others will come to you for help and assistance. But with anything and everything emotional, yes, and anything with the mysteries of the unknown or the known now will be very appealing for you, Scorpio rising. Finally, we've got the lunar eclipse and the full moon on October the 28th at 5 degrees of Taurus, and that will be in your natal seventh house of relationships again. No, it will not actually conjunct Uranus, the planet of the shocking and the unusual, but it will be in the seventh house of partnerships and relationships, legalities, the public, and the like. So because it is a lunar eclipse and a full moon, Scorpio rising, yes, it's back to the relationship theme. It does shed a connection with that seventh house of partnerships. So yes, be leery of conflicts now, dealings with public, and all kinds of legalities. But with your insight, Scorpio, you'll see it through. So, to finalize, this year's Scorpio rising is going to be all about relationships and about work. So, all kinds of relationships may be a little bit unusual or a little bit questionable, but that's not so bad because Uranus kind of breaks it up a little bit. And hey, you'll decide what is right and wrong for you regarding these partnerships. A lot is emphasized with your sixth house of work. So this is the year you're going to start that business, start that new business venture. Or this is a year that you will find that you're starting your health regime and exercise and feeling very good about yourself. Diet, exercise, business, that will be the theme this year. But it's going to be all too rewarding. With the hint on your first house, it's all about projecting your individual Scorpio style and your passion about what you really believe in. It's about transformation and change in your life now. And with that, Scorpio rising, best of luck to you in 2023.